There is a silent war happening inside you. No one sees it. No one hears it. But every day you are either winning or losing. Most people try to fix their negative thoughts without ever questioning where those thoughts are coming from. But thoughts do not appear out of nowhere. They are built slowly and quietly from everything you allow into your life. What you watch every day, what you listen to, the conversations you engage in, the people you keep around you, all of it is shaping your mind, whether you realize it or not. If your environment is filled with noise, negativity, comparison, and doubt, then your mind will naturally begin to mirror that same energy. And then you sit there wondering why you feel anxious, why you feel insecure, why your thoughts are always pulling you down. You cannot expect a peaceful mind while feeding it chaos. It does not work like that. The mind absorbs everything, every word, every image, every emotion around you leaves a mark. And over time, those marks turn into patterns, and those patterns become your default way of thinking. This is why you must become extremely aware of what you are allowing into your space. Not casually aware, but disciplined, almost ruthless in your decisions. Look at your daily habits. How much time do you spend consuming content that makes you feel small, distracted, or restless? How many conversations do you tolerate that are full of complaints, gossip, or negativity? How often do you stay in environments that drain your energy just because it feels familiar? These are not small things. They are the roots of your mental state. And if the roots are poisoned, the mind will suffer. This is where most people fail. They want to hold on to everything. The same habits, the same people, the same distractions, and still expect a different result. But growth demands sacrifice. You will have to let go of certain things. Sometimes it will be obvious, like reducing toxic content or limiting negative conversations. But other times, it will be harder. It may mean creating distance from people who constantly bring you down, even if you have known them for years. It may mean choosing solitude over company that weakens you. This is not about becoming cold or emotionless. It is about protecting your mind, because your mind is your foundation. If it is unstable, everything else in your life will feel unstable. When you start removing what poisons you, space for clarity, space for focus, space for strength. And at first, that space might feel uncomfortable. You might feel alone or bored or restless. That is normal. It only feels strange because you are no longer distracting yourself. But if you stay consistent, something begins to shift. Your thoughts become quieter. Your reactions become calmer. You start to feel more in control, not because life became easier, but because your mind became stronger. And it all begins with one decision: to stop feeding yourself what is destroying you. Most people move through life as if every thought in their mind is a command that must be followed. A single negative idea appears, and instantly it is accepted as truth. I'm not good enough. I can't do this. Something will go wrong. And without questioning it, you react, you hesitate, you shrink. But the reality is simple and uncomfortable. Not every thought you think is real, and not every thought deserves your attention. Your mind is constantly generating ideas, fears, memories, and imagined outcomes. It does this automatically, based on past experiences, conditioning, and emotional patterns. It is not always logical. It is not always accurate, yet you treat it as if it is always right. This is where suffering begins, not from the thought itself, but from your attachment to it. Imagine sitting by a road and watching cars pass by. You see them, you acknowledge them, but you do not run after every single one. Thoughts should be treated the same way. They come, they go. But instead, you chase them. You grab onto the worst ones and give them power. You replay them again and again until they feel real, until they shape your emotions, until they control your actions. A thought that says, "You will fail," is just a sentence in your mind. It has no power on its own. But the moment you believe it, you give it weight. You allow it to influence your decisions. You hesitate. You avoid. You doubt yourself. And then, slowly, that thought starts becoming your reality. Not because it was true, but because you treated it as truth. This is why awareness is everything. You must learn to step back and observe your thoughts without immediately reacting to them. When a negative thought appears, do not fight it and do not follow it. Simply notice it, recognize it for what it is, a mental event, not a fact. The more you practice this, the more distance you create between yourself and your thoughts. At first, it will feel difficult. Your mind will try to pull you back into old patterns. It will try to convince you that this thought is important, that you must analyze it, that you must worry about it. But you do not. You can let it pass. Just like a cloud moving across the sky, it will disappear if you stop holding on to it. Over time, this practice changes everything. You begin to realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the one observing them. And in that realization, there is freedom. Because if you are not your thoughts, then you are no longer controlled by them. You can choose which ones to act on and which ones to ignore. This does not mean negative thoughts will disappear completely. They will still come, but they will no longer have the same power over you. They will no longer dictate your mood, your confidence, or your actions. And that shift from reacting to observing is where true control begins. Most people approach life with the mindset of a victim without even realizing it. When something becomes difficult, they look for something or someone to blame. When they fail, they see it as proof that they are not capable. When they face pressure, they try to escape it. This pattern feels natural because it is comfortable, but comfort is exactly what keeps the mind weak. A weak mind avoids challenge, avoids responsibility, and avoids growth. A strong mind does the opposite, training your mind like a warrior begins with understanding that difficulty is not your enemy. It is your training ground. Every obstacle you face is an opportunity to strengthen your discipline, your patience, and your focus. But you will only see it that way if you are willing to change how you interpret discomfort. Right now, the moment something feels hard, your mind may say, "This is too much. I can't handle this." And you immediately believe it. That is the voice of a victim. A warrior hears the same voice, but does not obey it. A warrior mindset is built through repetition, not repetition of success, but repetition of effort, especially when you do not feel like it. When you wake up and your mind tells you to stay in bed, but you get up anyway, that is training. When you feel fear but still take action, that is training. When you fail and choose to try again instead of quitting, that is training. These moments may seem small, but they are shaping your identity. They are teaching your mind that it does not control you. You control it. The difference between a weak mind and a strong one is not talent or intelligence. It is discipline. A disciplined mind does not rely on motivation because motivation is temporary. Some days you will feel driven, but most days you will not. If you only act when you feel motivated, you will remain inconsistent. But when you build discipline, you act regardless of how you feel. You do what needs to be done, even when your emotions resist it. This is where growth happens. Not in comfort, not in ease, but in resistance. When your mind is pushed beyond what it is used to, it adapts. It becomes stronger, more focused, more resilient. But if you constantly avoid that pressure, your mind stays the same. It becomes fragile, easily overwhelmed, easily defeated. You must also change the way you see failure. A victim sees failure as an end. A warrior sees it as feedback. Every mistake carries information. It shows you what does not work, where you need to improve, where you lost focus. If you are willing to learn from it, instead of being discouraged by it, failure becomes one of your greatest teachers. This shift in mindset is not something that happens overnight. It is built daily through your actions, your decisions, and your willingness to face discomfort. Every time you choose growth over ease, you are training your mind. Every time you refuse to quit, you are strengthening it. And slowly, without even realizing it, you stop reacting like a victim and start moving like someone who is in control. Most people are afraid of silence, even if they never admit it. The moment everything becomes quiet, they reach for something: a phone, a video, a conversation, any kind of noise to fill the space. It feels harmless, but this constant need for distraction is one of the main reasons the mind stays restless. When you never allow yourself to sit in stillness, you never truly see what is happening inside you. You keep running, not because you are moving forward, but because you are avoiding yourself. Noise keeps you occupied, but it also keeps you unconscious. It pulls your attention outward, away from your thoughts, your emotions, and your deeper awareness. And over time, this becomes a habit. You stop being able to sit quietly without feeling uncomfortable. Your mind becomes dependent on stimulation. It starts craving constant input, and without it, you feel uneasy, even anxious. This is not peace. This is dependency. Silence, on the other hand, removes all of that. It takes away the distractions, the escapes, the temporary comforts. And when that happens, your mind has nowhere to hide. Everything you have been suppressing begins to surface. Doubts, fears, insecurities, unfinished thoughts. At first, this can feel overwhelming. You may feel like your mind is getting louder instead of calmer. But this is not a problem. This is the process. You are finally seeing clearly when you sit in stillness, without reacting, without trying to fix or escape what you feel. Something begins to change. You start to observe your thoughts instead of being controlled by them. You notice patterns you never paid attention to before. You realize how often your mind jumps from one worry to another, how it creates problems that do not exist, how it holds onto things that have already passed. This awareness is powerful because once you can see it, you are no longer trapped inside it. Stillness trains your mind to slow down. It teaches you patience. It teaches you to be present instead of constantly chasing the next distraction. And in that presence, there is clarity. Decisions become easier. Emotions become less overwhelming. You begin to respond instead of react. But this does not happen instantly. In the beginning, sitting in silence will feel uncomfortable, even frustrating. Your mind will resist it. It will tell you that this is a waste of time, that you should be doing something more productive, that you need stimulation. This is the old conditioning trying to pull you back. If you give in, nothing changes. But if you stay, even for a few minutes, you start building control. Over time, silence becomes less intimidating and more grounding. You begin to appreciate the calmness it brings. You realize that you do not need constant noise to feel okay. You become more stable, more centered, and when chaos appears around you, it does not shake you as easily because you have already trained your mind to remain steady in the absence of distraction. Most people spend their lives giving control of their inner world to everything outside of them. They say their mood depends on how others treat them. Their peace depends on circumstances. Their mindset depends on what happens during the day. When something goes wrong, they immediately look outward. They blame people, situations, bad luck. And for a moment, this feels justified. It feels easier to point at something external than to look within. But this habit comes with a cost. It slowly takes away your power because the moment you believe that your thoughts and emotions are controlled by the outside world, you become dependent on it. If someone speaks negatively to you, your mind reacts. If something doesn't go your way, your thoughts spiral. If circumstances are difficult, your inner state collapses. You are no longer in control. You are being controlled. Taking responsibility for your inner world means breaking this pattern completely. It means understanding that while you cannot control everything that happens around you, you can control how you respond to it. Your thoughts, your reactions, your focus, these are yours. No one can force them on you without your permission, but most people give that permission without even realizing it. When something triggers you, instead of immediately reacting, you pause. You observe what is happening inside you. You notice the anger, the frustration, the fear, but you do not let it take over. This is responsibility, not suppressing emotions, not denying them, but choosing not to be ruled by them. There is a difference. Blaming others keeps you stuck in the same cycle. It prevents growth because it removes the need to change. If everything is someone else's fault, then there is nothing for you to improve. But when you take responsibility, you shift your focus. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" you begin to ask, "How can I respond better?" This question puts you back in control. Responsibility also requires honesty. You have to be willing to see your own patterns. The way you think, the way you react, the habits that keep you in the same place. This is not always comfortable. It is much easier to ignore these things. But avoiding them only keeps you weak. Facing them gives you the chance to change them. As you practice this, something begins to shift. You become less reactive. Situations that once disturbed you start to lose their power. You no longer depend on everything being perfect to feel stable. Your peace becomes internal, not conditional. This does not mean life becomes easy or that challenges disappear. It means you are no longer shaken by them in the same way. You develop a sense of control that comes from within, not from external validation or circumstances. And that control allows you to move through life with more clarity, more strength, and more consistency, regardless of what is happening around you. In the end, this is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming aware. It is about waking up from the patterns that have been controlling you for so long. Every negative thought you once believed without question, every reaction you once thought was automatic, every weakness you once accepted as permanent, all of it can be changed, but only if you choose to change it. No one else can walk this path for you. No one else can discipline your mind, control your thoughts, or protect your peace. This responsibility is yours. And that is not a burden. It is your greatest power. Because the moment you stop running from yourself, the moment you stop believing everything your mind tells you, the moment you begin to train, observe, and take control, you become different, stronger, calmer, unshakable. The noise will still exist. The challenges will still come. The world will not suddenly become easier. But you will no longer be the same person facing it, and when your mind is no longer your enemy, there is nothing left that can truly defeat you.